Have you ever wanted to listen to a 35-year-old grown adult drone on for 27 minutes over footage of themselves? Urban Freeskate power roller Triblade skating? Well, you've come to the right place. Winter has hit in Kamloops, and Derek requested this on one of the YouTube comments, so here we go. This is what I call a wheel slide, and I think it has a name, like a magic slide or parallel slide, I'm not sure. Those wheels are 93A and slightly fatter profile. They were really good for that trick, for the toe slide. The engineer from K2 made them, and I want to skate them more, but I can't because we have a undercover mushroom blading wheel. I would have died on that little turn there in aggressive skates because the negative or the sole would have scraped up against the ground. That's just called a wall bash. You see some people doing it more and more. It's hard to get right because your distance from the ledge and where your wheel hits has to be pretty much perfect. I do that every time I go to this spot. It's interesting in bigger wheels and wizard frames and these r100 frames, I guess even 80mm setups, you can pop off stuff. There's so many tricks that I do that apparently have names in figure skating or in slalom. I just always called that one a left foot swivel. That was the first time I slid on one foot and got air off that one foot and then slid again. I gotta try that more. Here on this wall ride, showing how you have to flick your heels, and that paint that fell off, that happened. That wasn't me that did that. The cross-legged stair ride. You'll see that the rocker and the frame length here comes in handy. You also see the alignment on that right skate on the K2. It's like slightly pigeon-toed. I don't feel it all the time, but it shows up in shots. On these wheel slides, it starts as a turn, and you can see my other leg was like the counterweight. And as I landed that trick, the rocker, you can see sometimes you almost land sideways, but you can swivel your foot as you land. You can turn it. The rocker really helps on landing. That always feels like a med spin turn into like a blind cross leg, like you swing your leg around. Oh, and this is so crazy. It's almost like a GoPro where like it's so engrossing that my legs were crossed and went right over the camera. That's really hard to get. You have to imagine doing 3 frontside stalls in a row, but then hit your third wheel instead of hitting frontside stalls while going upstairs. I want to take that in new directions, but I always feel like you need a longer frame to make it happen. The 93A wheels were amazing for slides, but dear God, that helmet is ugly. They were really good for slides, but they are hard to control on the come out. They would slide really well, but then they would stop at a specific point. So whereas the 85A or something softer is really easy to come in and out of slides with, I would love to be able to slide across that little ridge on that fake. Dear Lord, keep your feet together, man. I don't know what it is about skating being more pleasing when the feet are close together. That's just always been something. Even for this trick right here, it's always good to stick it to the man and ride over the skate stoppers. But yeah, anytime the feet are a little bit too far apart, I find I don't like the look of it. That's just all personal preference. I've always tried to keep my feet together. Abstracts are good though, to do once in a while. Here's another rally car turn. Again, look at if I had a negative, like a bigger negative or a bigger sole, like a Jado skate or something. I just would have slid out and hit my hip so hard. I love anytime little rocks and things fly in the shot. Here's some bad form coming up. That lead foot was way too far forward. And then if your feet come apart on this little toe spin thing, not good. No, it just does not look good. This is the spot that I skate. Ooh, Joey, that was not good form. Probably I sped that one up in the final edit to hide the fact that it wasn't done very well. On the fakie hit, you always have one foot hit the curb first dear God, that helmet is so ugly. It takes my breath away. But it's got earmuffs. That's me trying to figure out the nollie, but still the frame is way too short. Or I guess it's called a nollie, because that's what it's called in skiing, but like popping off your toes on a jump. Frames still aren't long enough to fully learn it. That little toe pop to toe tap. Oh, this trick is in my head when you skate harder wheels, that you can take skating very, very far into new places. And it's really hard to learn, and it feels nothing like regular aggressive grinding. But in these 93A fatter profile wheels, almost counts as a step-on, but not. They slide really well. So you can even see there, it's like going over chunks on the ledge. And with the long frame, you can like pop your toes off. Yeah, there's a lot to explore with like the harder wheels and the longer frames. That I'll maybe give a pass because I did that toe slide out, but on those, when you're doing double toe or double heel or anything like that, you gotta keep it close together. You just gotta. Not that this is like a American Idol, The Voice style judging show, but that I would love to eventually slide longer, but it's really hard. All of this stuff is just super primitive versions of urban freeskate, power roller, triblade skating, and it's just messing around trying to do new things as sketchy or as simple or as primitive they are. Again, you can see those, that's a super chunky ledge, and those wheels, because they're harder, slide quite nice. I can do it in the 85A mushroom blading wheels as well, but it's a different style how you have to lean on the slide. I think this was the very first time I did a Fakie Toe Slide. It's a really good feeling trick, and I've come out of that as Fakie once, so it was like a Fakie 3 toe slide. It's really hard to get a long way. Like, you need to have speed, but you also need to lean into your toes. This is making me want to skate these 93A wheels again. Little Fakie toe tap, and then pop off the toes to a backside. There's a lot to explore with those toe and heel taps and things like that. I don't think you can see just how chunked that and crappy that ledge is, but it's amazing that those wheels actually slide. That trick took a whole bunch of tries, and that was the best that I got it, but I want to get that one better. The Fakie wall bash to backside grind. This is experimenting with toe slides, going both ways, switch and regular. I should have done the hand call thing. I think that's that was my switch side right there. It would be interesting to try like an undercover little backside pug slide there. It'd be interesting to try an undercover urethane that was fatter profile and 94A. But the problem is they're not that great for general skating in rougher pavement. It's more would be just for, that was kind of sick. I forgot about that one. It's like a med spin wall bash. I gotta try that one again. When you go to a spot that's limited and you're snowed out and you're in a frame like this, there's a kick with a 1 foot, like a fast slide with a kick. You're left to come up with more. Ooh, got air off that 270 on the fast slide kicker. You're left to like come up with things, and this aggressive skates feel horrible when it's cold and you're at a spot like this. They're not that fun to skate around in, and they're not that fun to grind these ledges in. So I love that there's a setup like this where you can just start to explore new moves and do some micro urban free skate, power roller, tri-blade skating, hammers. I made these things because the engineer from K2 had come up with this frame Nobody asked me to make these R100 testing videos. That was pretty wide-legged altogether, but some of these things, when they're slowed down, you can really see the nuances of the style not being that great. Right there. I guess that's okay. There's still so much to try with combining wheel slides and grinds. I really think that there's a lot to explore with this style of skating. But as I've said before, I'm pretty much a below average skater. That I don't have a lot of natural athletic talent, but I like. Oh, that was like GoPro angle too. So intimate that I hit the camera. I think there's a lot more talented people that could come up with better stuff, but not a lot of people are urban freeskate power roller triblade skating, which is a registered trademark of, I'm not sure who owns the registered trademark of urban freeskate power roller triblade skating. I put the tag freestyle skating, r100 testing freestyle skating. This is one of the best toe slides I've ever done. This is again in those 93A fatter profile wheels. They just slid amazingly. Not that it was for that long, but just there's a little bit less grip on those wheels, and I feel like given the right surface and spot, I could do a very, very long balanced one. This is again just experimenting with those the 93A wheels with a little bit more surface to slide on. And this is the old skate park in Kamloops. I love that little piece of graffiti right there. The thing is, these are so hard to get properly, like when you're trying to do a little, I guess in aggressive skating it's called channel 3. I guess it would be called a tail slide, or I'm not sure, but sliding on your back wheels, or even moving through, like right there, trying to move through. That was just, I guess, in the middle wheels. I have ideas where if you could move between the wheels on the skates while sliding. There's this trick that Phil Cassabon does in his oil and water section on a kink trail where he moves. There's another toe pop. Again, not fully a long enough frame, to really pop off the toes. But yeah, Phil Cassabon like moves on the surface of his skis while grinding, and I always want to do that on my rollerblades. But you see, it's still so primitive. Right there, just using a longer base and harder wheels to, I don't know, try some new stuff. You can kind of do some of this stuff on aggressives, but it doesn't feel exactly the same. See, I think, yeah, trying to pop off the heel. This is like almost a double heel pop. Some of this stuff is like probably what that one's super hard. The toe slide. I have that written down in many notebooks, and I go out and try it, and I realize how hard it is to control a toe slide and then pop into a wheel slide or a front side or a back side. This is the idea that everywhere where there's pavement, instead of thinking of a ledge or a rail, with wheel slides, everything's grindable. So instead of looking for a perfect ledge or rail, if you have pavement, it is a ledge or rail, if that makes any sense. That this isn't technically coping, but you can skate it like coping. So a hip transfer backside on non-existent coping, and then again, it's just not long enough, that frame, but I'm trying to pop off the toes from a grind on non-existent coping, but I'm pretending that it is coping. And here I think I go for the heels. A backside wheel slide to heel popper, or maybe it's the toe popper again. Oh, it's the toe popper again. The beautiful landscapes of Kamloops and butt shot that rollerblading videos are notorious for because of our stance, you know. It's why it's better. In Big Wheels 1, there was a lot of fisheye shots from the front to get away from the bum shots. I think there's a meme somewhere. Rollerblade edit, butt shot coming. There's the heel popper. Again, like, very primitive, but the ideas are there. Yeah, I would make these r100 testing edits and send them to the engineer even though she didn't ask. Similar to how Leon didn't ask for wizard testing. I just need an excuse to go out and make something. Like, I'm testing. If this is important, I'm testing a product. If I call it that, I don't... it could be some kind of little loophole in my mind. I just need some kind of goal to set. So I would make these little edits of me testing the frame and send it to the engineer and friends whether they like it or not. And it all remained top secret until the frame was public knowledge, I guess. You can see that the grip on those wheels, the 93A, compared to the hydrogen or undercover, they slid down the wall, whereas the hydrogen or undercover would have gripped. This is super trendy to do, but it feels so good to pop off the coping like that. I think there's a lot to be done where you could land in grinds or cess slides or wheel slides. Every little crack becomes a launch in Big Wheels. I guess it does in aggressives too, but it just does not feel as good. This day I learned this little, it's like a wheel slide to shifty toe pop late 180 fakie thing. A lot of times I just feel out a trick and I don't know what it is until I go back and look at it, or I don't know what the names are. This kind of stuff, I think there's a lot of possibilities. It would have been so sick if I landed in soul off of that, but in the primitive version, you could see the weird alignment again there. In the primitive version of this trick, I'm not landing in soul yet. Something about the R100s is when you come fakie off of a soul, that toe part, you can almost like flick it, and it pushes you off the object. There's a lot of possibilities with that. There's a lot of possibilities in general. I'm hoping one day somebody will do this trick into a cool flip or spin, but again, I'm below average and I can only just do a wheel slide out of a bank. But I can see it going new places, along with all this stuff. That's called a conveyor. Colin Brady came up with it. It's where you conveyor belt your wheels against something, like a rail or coping. That was kind of like a conveyor toe thing. And then I can't remember what I did. To trendy coping pop. So it was like almost like a little med spin conveyor to coping popper. It's amazing at first in these setups you think there's a limitation because you can't grind, and then you realize that there's all this other stuff that you can do on skates, like a conveyor to fly fish, which I just recently learned with a hello Docky, with a 360. So this was the early version. You almost go like crab into it and then you conveyor off the coping, conveyor med spin. Not the greatest grab on that one. That helmet, dear Lord. You know, I have a tough time skating in helmets. I still think that they look really bad, but you know, I'll put it back on because it saved my ass that one time. But there's just, I have a big head, and even the extra large helmet, oh, solid airborne foot drag. Again, very primitive version of trying to grind to toe popper conveyor thing off the spine. I know I'm doing the early versions of all this stuff and it's not the greatest, and it's like when aggressive skating first started and it was like the really small, simple, primitive version, but I do think that one day, one year, there'll be better technology and people who do amazing shit on setups like this. Mitchell Goosening that grab. Look at how big that helmet looks. It just looks like I cut a watermelon in half and put it on my head. It comes up really high off the top of my head. This is where I switched back to hydrogen wheels, and they were noticeably faster than the 93A urethane, grippier, and more rocket power. These are almost exactly the same as the mushroom blading undercover wheels, but not as good for those like grinding on the wheels and stuff like that. But it was my preference for overall skating was at the 85A. Hydrogen wheels and the undercover wheels are made in the same facility and pretty close to the same thing. So there's me using that rocket boost power, grabbing my boots, because when you're extreme and you want to push the limits, you got to grab those boots. Here, look, the helmet almost looks like it's just rocking back and forth. It's almost distracting how ugly that helmet is. There is a shifty over the long box at the skate park. The long box never looks as big on video as it does in person. This left foot wall ride sweep because I flick with my heel. This is stuff where the 5-wheel wizards were just starting to kind of figure out how to use that frame length more. It's weird because in setups like this, a lot of things that you're experimenting with, you realize how important the toe and the heel is of your skates, and then you get on something longer and you have all these habits from shorter frames and you don't fully press into the toe and the heel. But you can even see right there, it's just to have that the toe extending out on the front. There's just more pop in the skate in unique ways, pop and stability. I'm not a huge transition skater, and someone who's more of a transition skater would have hit that near the top, and I always hit stuff with a lot of speed near the bottom. I don't know why I developed that, but that's just what I do. Here's me riding up the slappy wall box and then riding down on my Urban Freeskate Power Rollerblade Triblade skates. Honestly, rollerblading is the name. I end up labeling rollerblade tricks on most of these things now. That skill is so fun, like a little wheel slide, but then you're still dropping into a bank for speed. I almost died a few times doing that. If your wheels are new, don't try it because you might stick and fly. Ooh, this is almost as bad as like a fish brain stall in slow motion. Carving a ball in rollerblades in slow motion, and again, I'm pretty low on the transition. I don't know if that's just the way I learned, and grabbing the boots while getting some sweet air. But yeah, bowl carves and rollerblades just looks really funny to me. I still stand by my statement that skateboards work better in bowls than rollerblades do. It doesn't mean you can't do it. Unfortunate butt shot. That's just, I think, where a lot of the times I just lean my phone against my shoe where I can grab it. I don't have like a tripod for my phone yet. What's this? It's gonna be like a stair bash. Such nice trees around that skate park. Oh yeah, there it is again. So same kind of deal. To ride upstairs, you have to think of you're doing consecutive frontside stalls upstairs, but further back on the third wheel. Not too much arm waving, looking under the shoulder like a Soyelle. I think good stair ride and good big wheel tricks still have a base in aggressive inline skating postures and style. I think You can take untraditional inspiration, like figure skating and all that, but I think a base of like skiing and aggressive skating, I want to learn that better, like a deep fakie carve. I was watching Pabin from The Bunch. If you ever watch the Pabin in the Park edits, he does these deep fakie carves in his skis, and I would just think it would be amazing to get really good at that skill. Similar to the covered spot, love doing that. The little curb cuts, just bashing off of them. I've tried to 5 off of those. There's a really good example of why I went with 85A. Here's another one for the undercover wheels that they're just like, that is crappy pavement, and the rocker and the big soft wheels rolled over that perfectly, whereas the 80 or the 93A would have broken my teeth because they would have been chattering so hard. It's too bad this spot, these 3 stairs were waxed up, and then the city, I think, power washed it or something, because I had this one idea. You can see the urethane kind of flattened out there. That idea, I didn't get very good, but I think there's a lot of possibilities there if I ever come across a spot with 3 super waxed stairs, that it would be amazing to combine wheel slides and stair ride tricks. Here's some more curb cut tricks. You can see the rocker in action there. That would have actually been sweet if I came back down the little curb cut fakie. Really bad filming here, but I don't think I had any choice on what I could lean up against it. I have a bunch of ideas where you pop off the top stair like Jeremy Morris in KFC, but go into spins and things like that. A nice 0 spin carve. It's funny, when I got those sweatpants, I remember I thought they were baggy, and now they actually look quite skinny. That our idea of what baggy was changed so much. Pants gotta come into it sooner or later. Did I miss? Was that the 181? I can't remember. Ooh, there it is again. The feet have got to be close together to be more aesthetically pleasing. And there's a little toe pop with a water park and a playground. Oh, this is actually the last shot of that Saturday morning solo 6 similar spot. A reminder in the background that the streets and the world is a playground when you have skates on. So enjoy it. Thank you.